On this installment of Diecast Emporium, we're going to be taking a look at the update to the Matchbox INC construction collection. Now, adults and kids alike like to collect the Matchbox INC construction collection. It's one of the most popular liveries that Matchbox does year in and year out. Now, sometimes they'll release them in the Real Working Rigs collection, sometimes they'll do it in the main line, and sometimes they'll do them even in the 5-pack. And you'll see a bunch of these. To start out with, they're really not in any particular order. Some of these are based off of real-life pieces of equipment. Some are just fantasy castings. The first one that we'll take a look at, this is the Dirt Grabber. This is based off of a real piece of heavy equipment called a wheeled excavator. And you see these a lot in Europe in particular, working on road construction jobs. They're a lot more maneuverable than excavators with tracks, basically because obviously tracks tear up roads. So you can do maintenance on roads and things like that with these without having to bring out a heavy tracked machine that would otherwise trash the road that you'd have to completely resurface. Now this does spin, and the bucket arm raises up and down, but the bucket itself doesn't move. But it's still a neat casting, and it's cool that it's based off of, you'll hear me say this a lot, I like the models that are based off of real-life pieces of construction equipment. This, called the Dirt Smasher, is not based off of any real piece of equipment. It's a fantasy casting. It has these log tongs on the front of it, which do open and close. So, you have that going for it. But this is kind of a model that the kids would like. And it's a singles release. And I think this came out last year or the year prior. So, in my opinion, not one of the best ones released, but at least it has a working function on it. Now, there is some discussion over whether this next piece, called the tractor plow, is actually an INC release. And the reason I say that is because there's actually no INC graphic anywhere on it. But as you can tell, it does have the livery and the color scheme on it. So, as far as I'm concerned, it is, because it matches up quite well with everything else in here. But some collectors will claim that it isn't. However, just for measure of full disclosure, I like to say it is part of it. So, if you're trying to collect all of these, I wanted to just show you that this one is out. This one is cool because it does have a metal plow on the front of it. It doesn't move or anything. It's fixed to the offset right position, but it's kind of cool. You can use it to move dirt around or snow around. Again, not really based off of any real piece of equipment. There's no tractors that look anything like that. This, however, this DAF XF95 Space Cab is based off of a European truck. I believe this came out around 2008, somewhere in there. So this is a cool looking truck if you have a flatbed trailer that you can haul any of these heavy equipment around. You hook the trailer up to this, and it looks cool. I would really like to see Matchbox do a American-style semi like this. Maybe they can do that down the line. I know next year, 2020, they are releasing a Western Star cab. Don't know what the paint scheme is for that. I doubt it'll be INC, but just saying, maybe they could do an INC one in the future. That would be awesome. Next, we have a dump truck. This was released in a 5-pack, actually. So the only way you can get this truck is if you pick up the 5-pack. This is a favorite among a lot of people because it's a 6-wheeler. A lot of people collect 6-wheelers. This is based off a mining-style dump truck. Back in the day, there was mining trucks this size that had, they call them 3 axles, 6 wheels. You don't see too many of those around now. Mostly they have 2 axles. But this is based off a large mining or quarry truck. So, in my book, it gets a pass because it is based off of a real vehicle that was. Next, we have the concrete mixer. And this just came out last year, I believe, 2018. In a singles release, so this is still easy to find. Fictional cab, Matchbox original cab. Definitely a Euro-style truck still, with that cab-over design. The mixing drum spins, but that's all in terms of functionality on this truck. But it's nice to have a concrete truck in the collection. Fills the void, gets the job done. And it has a similar cab to all of those King trucks that you see. Concrete King, Glass King, those similar style but not the same cab-over style trucks that you see. Alright, moving on. First of two similar tractors. This is an older style tractor, heavily influenced by tractors of the 30s and the 40s. So I like this just for that reason. It's got a hitch on the back of it, and an open style seat. So, it's kind of nice. This is a very recent release, 2019, in the singles. Here's a much older tractor. I think this is simply called tractor, if you're looking for one. Enclosed cab design. I believe this one also, yeah, this one also has a hitch on it as well. So if you have any trailers or whatnot, you can hook them up to this too. Another very recent release, 2018. Glass King truck. Sort of based off a real truck. Obviously, you see these around cities. Trucks carrying sheets of glass around. Typical Matchbox Fantasy cab-over design. What's cool about this truck is if you want to, you can pop off the yellow part to take a closer look at the glass sheets inside. Which is cool. Also, for you customizers out there, this is a good one to pick up if you just want to take the cab off and put that INC cab on dump trucks, other trucks that you may have laying around, so that you have like an INC dump truck or, you know, whatever. So this crane, they actually have two different versions of it for INC. They released this one, which I believe is the newer version of it. This is a very heavy piece because there's a lot of die-cast in it. Anyway, they released two of these. They have this one with yellow outriggers, and they also released a INC one with silver or gray outriggers. But it's the same casting, just a little bit different coloring on it. I don't have that one out of the box to show you, but give me a minute here. Oh, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. So, here is the one you just saw. So there's the one with the yellow outriggers. And here is the one with the gray outriggers. So easy to miss this one in the store. So there's the two different releases. And I think you're going to see this later on with the Drilldigger model, which you'll see here in a minute. Because they're planning on releasing re-releasing that. So there might be some subtle differences on that too, but it's the same model. It's just going to be a little bit different. And so there you go. All right, back to the models. And coincidentally, up next is Drilldigger. So this is based off of a skid steer. And it has a auger attachment on it. An auger drill attachment on it. Which is cool because you get to spin that by simply moving that. And it spins. And they're going to re-release this later on this year. I think it's one of the last mixes for this year for Matchbox. So it'll be interesting to see what's different on that one, if this is going to be yellow or gray, or what color combination they're going to change on it. But I like this because, again, it is based off of a real piece of equipment. Obviously, it's a little bigger in scale, but that's all right. Next is a truck I really like. This is an International CXT. So when the real truck of this was released, I think it was around 2004, 2005, something like that. I was actually at the Detroit Auto Show, and I got to see this truck up close. And they actually had it branded as like a real-life Tonka truck, and it was massive. I mean, if you ever got to see one of these things up close, a real one, it was really impressive. And to have one of these in INC decos, super cool. So, love this truck. If you get a chance to pick one of these up in any color, I would recommend it. Great looking model. Another one of those that has the hitch on the back so you can tow trailers around with it. Great looking truck. Worth adding to your collection. I think this was a singles release too. As was this. This is another recent release. I do like this one because it's based off of a Gradall excavator. Again, one of those excavators that is wheeled, obviously, has rubber tires, so plenty of advantages there. And you don't really see too many Gradalls around, but they are still out there, and they have their advantages. It's kind of cool to see that Matchbox took inspiration from one of those to build one of these. Of course, this moves, and the cab spins. So, alright, so the next color / variation you have is the motor grader. Obviously, if you are familiar with construction equipment at all, you know that this is based off of a real piece of equipment, the motor grader. These are used to level out road foundations prior to paving. And also, if you live in an area where there's a lot of snow, it's not too uncommon to see these plowing roadways. So there is the motor grader. That one is in yellow. You'll notice the blade and the plow is yellow on that one, and the cab is black on that one. Whereas the blade and the plow are gray on this one, and the cab is yellow on this one. Kind of cool. Don't mind variations. I find them pretty interesting. Next, we have the load lifter. Again, this is based off of a telehandler, which is a fancy name for a pretty cool forklift. Goes up and down. That's it. So you can lift something with it. The real piece of machinery, obviously, this extends outward or telescopes. It has multiple sections on it. Has four-wheel steering, which is pretty neat. Pretty cool piece of equipment. I believe this was also a singles release. Why do I want to say it wasn't? I think it was a singles release. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Next is the road roller. This is based off of a soil compactor. It's pretty obvious what the real machine does. Compact soil. Big drum in the front is, it vibrates, obviously. And they use these to compact the ground prior to paving. This is not primarily used. A lot of people think they use this to flatten out asphalt. They don't normally use these type of rollers or compactors to flatten asphalt. The rollers that have two of these drums on them are used for asphalt. This type is used for compacting the ground and soil prior to paving or prior to putting a building up. So interesting note there. Cool little model. I won't say it's super realistic looking, but it's close. They took inspiration off of real life ham rollers and cat rollers and kind of put them both together. So it looks good. Alright. So next up we have a scraper. So these have a bunch of different names. Scrapers, pans, there's a bunch of different names that these things go by. Primarily, they're used to transport large amounts of material from one part of the job site to another and level out the land. They articulate in the center, just like this. So that's cool that Matchbox modeled that. They have a large ejector plate back here, and that pushes the material forward, that empties the scraper bowl out. Obviously, that's not functional on here. So you have this little version, and there's also a bigger version, which you'll see here in a minute, that they put a little bit more, just a tiny bit more detail into the working rigs version of it. But cool nonetheless. And you'll see these on almost all major construction projects, be it road construction, mining, heavy earth moving, whether they're building a subdivision or houses or whatever. You're likely to see a scraper on any major construction job. Next up is another one that you'll find in a 5-pack. This is an excavator. And this thing has been around since I was a little boy at least, which is early 90s. This is the Cat excavator. And this thing used to have a whole lot... This underwent a casting change, because this thing used to have a whole lot more functionality than it does in this state. This one, the arm only goes up and down, but the actual bucket here used to curl and empty. The tracks never rolled. They always had wheels underneath it. However, the bucket and stuff did used to move, so that's a shame that had to get changed. But anyway, obviously this is based off of an excavator. This was in a 5-pack, the most recent 5-pack of any INC construction. So keep your eyes out. If you're in the store, you can still find this one that's in the 5-pack. I believe I still have that one sealed. Yeah. So it's called the, well, that's pretty simple for you. It's called the MBX Construction. And there you see, sitting in the bottom. There you go. Also, you see that bulldozer right there? Second from the bottom? That's also going to be in MBX Construction colors by the end of this year, released as a single. So I'm pretty excited for that. So keep your eyes out on the pegs for that one. Okay, on to the last 3 models, and they're all real working rigs. So we get a little bit more to play with here. First one we have is a large bulldozer. Lots of cool stuff to work with here. So the rubber tracks move, which is great. This, which is known as a ripper, the shanks, which are these, the teeth, they move. And the blade, this, if you're not familiar, goes up and down. So you get a lot of play value for your money with real working rigs, and that's really the intent of what these were designed for. They're built a little bit better, and obviously you get a lot more for them. So this bulldozer in particular is based off of a large Komatsu bulldozer, and metal blade, plastic ripper shanks, die-cast metal body, rubber tracks. This came out a few years back, before they brought back working rigs, back when they were, quote, the real working rigs. So it's been around for a few number of years. If you want to find this, you're going to have to go on eBay or check out one of your collector buddies that's been collecting for a while. See if they've stashed one. Definitely my favorite of the working rigs INC trucks. Alright, so I showed you the scraper. What did I do with it? So I showed you the scraper, regular one. There's the regular one. Here is the newly released, and it's just big enough to sit up there. There's the real working rig scraper. Now you get a better idea of what a real scraper does. No, unfortunately, the pan does not go up or down. You can actually see where this cylinder in real life would raise the pan up or down. It's permanently fixed in the down position. However, this little black piece right here that I was telling you about is called the ejector. That does move back and forth. So if you fill the thing full of dirt, you can eject it, just like that. And obviously it does articulate left and right, so you can transverse, just like that. Pretty awesome. And the last one, that's just about everybody's favorite, is the large excavator. So fun fact about this one, this is actually not the first INC real working rigs excavator we've seen. They did one, again, back in the first run of the real working rigs a number of years ago, 2011, 2012-ish. This is the updated one that you'll still find in stores today if you're lucky. Just a subtle graphics change, subtle color change. Really not much to show you both of them because they're pretty close to identical. Rubber tracks, die-cast car body, plastic arm, stick, and bucket. However, you have great range of motion. So, unlike all the dollar, for lack of a better word, I know this is going to annoy some of the older collectors like me, forgive me. For lack of a better word, the dollar toys, this has full range of motion. So your bucket moves, curls in, curls out, tucks in tight. Your stick goes down, curls in. You can tuck it in tight. If you've watched any of my other videos, these terms will make sense to you. They'll curl in tight for a transport load, so if you want to put this on a lowboy, you can replicate a real look there. It can dig well below itself, and obviously it has 360 degrees of rotation. So, for a Matchbox model, this is quite awesome. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you've stuck with me through all 22 minutes of this, I thank you. If you've joined me from a recommendation through the Lamley Group channel or through watching a Race Groups video, I appreciate you watching it. I hope this has been helpful to you. And if you like what you've seen, stick around, watch a couple other videos, and again, if you like what you see, maybe hit that subscribe button. As for the rest of you that watch my videos on a regular basis, thank you for tuning in. Maybe start doing an INC collection if you have little ones, because this is certainly a very, very, very popular collection from collectors of all ages. I would say with the people that I have talked to, when it comes to Matchbox and adult collectors, I would say that probably INC Construction is either the second or the third most popular color combination that is collected within the past 8 to 10 years. So, who knows what these are going to be worth in another 10 years. That's something to consider. And they're just fun. It's just fun to go into the store and every once in a while, head down the toy aisle and see what's new with INC. And definitely, if personally, if you're a huge construction guy like myself, it's just kind of a fun thing to keep up with. So if you guys have any questions or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. If you're a Matchbox guy, tell me which one of these is your favorite, and more importantly, tell me which of the current Matchbox castings are out there that you would like to see that hasn't already been done, that you would like to see outfitted in Matchbox INC Construction decos. I'd be interested to see what your thoughts are on that. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Take care, be safe. We'll see you in the next video.